Hey, welcome to today's video. I'm Richard Chapo. I'm an internet lawyer in San Diego, California. And today we're talking about the CCPA and dangerous definitions. So the CCPA is the California Consumer Privacy Act. It is a new California privacy law. It goes into effect on January 1st, 2020. So if you are an attorney new to the CCPA, or if you're somebody that owns a business and you're looking at it, seeing if you can figure out compliance on your own, the good news is an initial reading of the CCPA isn't too bad. When you start reading the requirements and the provisions and what have you, it sort of makes sense. Unfortunately, it's a trap. Yes, you have to be very careful with the CCPA because there are a lot of hidden compliance requirements. And where are they hidden? In the definition. The definition demons, as I like to call them. I'm not really sure why they took this approach. Now, definitions in legislation can often have some additional little requirements. It's not that uncommon, but the CCPA has a ton of them. In some situations, the definition doesn't even make sense. In others, they just stack in a compliance requirement, randomly somewhere in the text that if you don't read it closely, you'd probably blow by. And so I've put together a sample here so you can get kind of a feel for how this kind of plays out. And so you'll hopefully be wary about, trying to read the CCPA and understand how it works. So the definition is service provider. And before we read it, let's just think about a service provider in the context of an online business. Let's say you have a website, you're selling goods, and you also have a mailing list. So people are signing up for your mailing list because they want to, be updated on future sales and things of that sort. So how would we define a service provider here if we were writing this law? Well, I would think it would be somebody who is a third party who's providing you with some kind of service that you need for the functionality of your site, and you are providing them with personal information as part of that service. So let's talk about transactions. If I sell a good, well, obviously I need to process payment. And so I might use a company like Stripe or PayPal to do that. Now I'm going to give PayPal or Stripe the personal information of the customer, and they're going to do this service for me. So to me, that's a service provider. With my mailing list, if I'm using a third-party service like MailChimp, for instance, they would be a service provider. They're going to provide me with a service I need to run my website, and I'm going to give them access to the personal information of people on my list, i.e., the person's name and email address, depending on whatever information you've collected. And so that's how I view a service provider. So let's read the definition and see how it matches up. And you can see it right there on your screen. Service provider means a sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability company, corporation, association, or other legal entity that is organized or operated for the profit or financial benefit of its shareholders, that processes information on behalf of a business and to which the business discloses a consumer's personal information for a business purpose pursuant to a written contract. Okay, let's stop there. So this definition pretty much matches up with what I would think the definition of a service provider would be, particularly in the online context. We're talking about a third-party company, and it's a company that's providing us a service that we're giving access to personal information of our customers, our mailing list, whoever we're collecting data from. And so that makes sense. And I think that this is pretty much dead on. And that's what I would expect to see when reading through the definitions of the CCPA. And I ran across the definition for service provider. But that's not the entire story. So let's go back and read the last half of the definition. Let's go back to the ... section so we have some context. And here we go. That processes information on behalf of a business into which the business discloses consumers' personal information for a business purpose pursuant to a written contract, comma, and here's where it gets interesting, provided that the contract prohibits the entity receiving the information from retaining, using, or disclosing the personal information for a commercial purpose other than providing the services specified in the contract with the business. Okay. So everything after that comma, I guess technically you could call it a definition, but it's not really. What it really is a compliance step. And what it is saying is that if you're using a service provider like Stripe or PayPal or MailChimp, maybe Google Analytics, any of these service providers, you have to have a contract with them. And that contract has to have a clause that prohibits that company, that third-party company, from retaining, using, or disclosing the personal information for a commercial purpose other than providing the services specified in the contract with the business. So PayPal is sort of famous for sending out promotional emails. They're always trying to get you to take a personal loan with them or a business loan. And so let's say you have a situation where a customer wants to buy something from you. They don't have a PayPal account. And so you send them instructions on how to use PayPal without opening an account. And yes, you can do that. A lot of people don't seem to realize that, but you can. And so they make payment to you through PayPal for the goods. At that point, PayPal has their email address, and under the CCPA, PayPal would be prohibited from sending them promotional emails and messages, and that is something that you would have to include in your contract with PayPal. It would have to be there. It is an important compliance step, and it's hidden in the last few lines of this definition. This compliance step should be somewhere else in the CCPA. It should have its own section, and there should be a section essentially on contracts, if you will, talking about things that need to go into contracts and don't and what have you. That would be a better place. So it's a trap, because if you don't read this full definition all the way to the end and really think about it, you may not be in compliance with the CCPA with all of your contracts with service provider. And I think that's probably going to be a common problem, because who's going to really notice this? So it's an example of these dangerous definitions. You need to go through and read them all. It's section 0.140 of the CCPA. It is long, and it contains definitions for all these different terms that are used in the Act. And you're going to be shocked at how the definitions don't line up with what you might think a particular phrase or word means. It's pretty surprising. The word sale, for instance, it doesn't really mean sale. It's much broader than that. So you want to read through these. In fact, I would encourage you to start with section 140, even though it's in the middle of the Act. Start with the definitions, read all of those, so you have a better idea of how strangely the California legislature has defined some of these phrases, and then it will impact other sections. So when you have another section that says something like, well, you cannot sell information to third parties, without consent of, the consumer or something of that sort, you'll realize the word sell implies something much broader than just an exchange for money. So very important. Read the definitions, read them closely, break out the highlighter and the no-dos, and burn through those babies. So anyways, that's it for the video today. CCPA and dangerous definitions. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. I'm going to be posting quite a few videos on the CCPA, so feel free to subscribe to this channel, and you can hopefully find answers to your questions in those other videos. If you have questions or comments, please contact me at SoCalInternetLawyer.com, or you can post them down in the comment section below. But keep in mind that comment section is viewable by the public, so don't post anything that is sensitive or confidential that you wouldn't want out there. There is no attorney-client privilege for that. So with all that said, thank you for watching. Have yourself a good one.